सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं पद्मभवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं त्रोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यात् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नान्तः प्रज्ञं न बहिष्प्रज्ञं नो भयतः प्रज्ञं न प्रज्ञानघनं न प्रज्ञं नाप्रज्ञम् अदृष्टम् अव्यवहार्यम् अग्राह्यम् अलक्षणम् अचिन्त्यम् अव्यपदेश्यम् एकात्मप्रत्ययसारम् प्रपञ्चोपशमम् शान्तं शिवम् अद्वैतं चतुर्थं मन्यन्ते स आत्मा स विज्ञेयः। So we will also chant this before our classes, because this is a reminder that the whole Advaita Prakarana is based upon this. This seventh mantra of Mandukya Upanishad is a source of inspiration for so many rishis. Since Gaudapadacharya ji has left his treasure of these karikas for us, people's view on Mandukya Upanishad and especially the 7th mantra has brought about a renaissance, a breath of fresh air in the midst of the transient samsara which arrives, which departs and leaves some ephemeral experiences which becomes the cause of bondage for the jiva. Gaudapadacharya ji ended Vaithatya Prakaranam with a very powerful message that may one come to be a Vidvat Sannyasi, may one come to be a Brahmanishtha, and that being the absolute goal, that the person has absolute abidance in the truth and the truth alone. This Advaita Prakarana takes off from a jiva who has understood the purpose of life to be the absolute, which is the life of a Vidvat Sannyasi, the knower of truth. And that having said, the Karikas over here start with the student having gained this Savikalpa Samadhi, that this world, Gaudapadacharya ji says, that the secular world, if one lives in a secular world with secular problems, he doesn't even address that person. Bhagavan Krishna comes and says that there are no solutions for a secular problem in the secular world. Bhagavan though gives a spiritual answer to the secular problem, and Bhagavan says that develop spiritually with karma yoga, with upasana yoga, and with karma yoga and with upasana yoga may you come to, at least at the level of the mind, learn to deal with your problems by surrendering them to Bhagavan and by substituting the thought of the samsara by the thought of Ishvara. Having learned to continuously substitute the thought of Ishvara while living a samsaric life, Ishvara becomes a pradhan vritti pravaha. Ishvara becomes the main thought flow of the very bed of the river of vichar in our life. And when Ishvara becomes the predominant thought, that itself slowly changes the gaze. Now over here we are left with that jiva seeing this world. This world has been labeled as mithya prapancha, the illusory projection. And whenever we say that it is mithya, when it is an illusion, that when it is a projection, the projection cannot hang around in air, in nothing. The projection has to have a substratum upon which the projection takes support. So the support for the projection is none other than Bhagavan. Brahman alone is taken as the support, and it is known as mithya prapancha adhishthana. It is the support of the illusory projection. Now when we say that this world is a projection and the support of the projection is Brahman, then the next question is, to whom is this projection? So then comes a jiva, that the projection only exists in the mind of the jiva, because in reality the projection is an experience, and the experience of this projection is in the jiva. So the mithya prapancha is the illusory projection, is also known as jiva shrushti. It is a creation of jiva. It is a projection, an illusion, which is a projection of a jiva. And if the jiva has projected this, then when the jiva experiences jiva shrushti, then he gives first and foremost reality to this world. And only when the reality is given, then the reality is experienced. So one is accepting the projection to be real, and only when the projection is accepted as real, then there is a as though real experience of the projection. And when there is this seeming experience of the projection, if the jiva doesn't know that it is a seeming and it takes the projection as real, then the jiva is lost. But Bhagavan Krishna comes and says that learn to surrender their experience at the feet of Bhagavan. Go towards Bhagavan, and slowly, slowly, slowly the projection which is accepted as real starts diminishing. So over here in this Advaita Prakarana, to establish the absolute truth, Gaudapadacharya ji from Karika number 2 up to Karika number 8, he takes something known as Jiva Shrushti, and he negates the Jiva Shrushti by an example. Then he will continue. 4 topics he takes: Jiva Shrushti, and then the world projection he takes. Then he negates this Jiva Shrushti, negates the world. Then he negates the Jiva Shrushti again and negates the world, first with an example, and then second time he negates it with scriptures. And in this way he logically proves that there is no such thing as an experience which is Jiva Shrushti, and then there is no such thing as world. So both the world and the experience of the world he will negate, and that is Advaita Prakarana. This is how we are going to walk through this section, and thus this section, if we don't know where he is headed, we will find it a bit confusing. So, upasana-shrito dharmo jate brahmani vartate pragutpatte ajam sarvam tenasau krupanasmritaha. Upasana ashrita dharmaha. This dharmaha, jiva, upasana ashritaha, abiding in this upasana. This is the first karika of Advaita Prakarana. Jate Brahmani Vartate. Jate, the manifested Brahman, Vartate. It exists in the very manifested Brahman. So Jiva is manifested. So Jiva, if it is manifested, the Jiva also is a projection on that Brahman. So Jiva jate Brahmani vartate. The Jiva exists in Brahman. The Jagat exists in Brahman. The Jiva exists in Brahman. Which Brahman? Jate Brahman, the manifested. At no point in time can we experience our absence. So we are. So jate Brahmani vartate. Now that Jiva who is doing upasana, who is surrendering to this Lord and releasing all the experiences at the feet of the Lord, that Jiva doing that upasana of Bhagavan now thinks that this world which is experienced, that experienced world has started some point in time. Otherwise, how did the experience of the world arrive? So, the Jiva thinks that if the world is experience, the world is. If the world is, then the world is experienced. If the world is, and if the experience is experience, when did the experience come about of the world? When did the world come? So two questions. When did the experience arrive? When, that is for the Jiva. The Jiva experiences the experience. World cannot experience by itself. So experience is in the Jiva. And then the world, when did the world arrive? So when we say, when did the world arrive? Or when we say, the experience is experienced, that means there is a cause. The world becomes the cause of the experience. And if the world is, what is the cause of the world? So in all Upanishads, this cause-effect relationship is talked about in all other Upanishads, that Brahman is the cause of the world. And wherever there is a cause, cause has an effect. And also, wherever there is a cause, there is a purpose. When we say a pot maker is an intelligent cause and he makes pots out of clay, the intelligent cause, the pot maker, made the pot for a purpose. Without a purpose, the pot maker will not make pots. Without a purpose, the engineer will not engineer phones. So whenever we say a cause, The cause will have purpose, but over here in all Upanishads it was said Brahman is the cause, but the purpose was never talked about. And the student asks, and this is a question that everybody asks, Swamiji, why did God have to create world? Because we are seeking purpose. What is the purpose behind this world? And the answer is, He created just because, and that is not satisfying. Then why did He create pain? Then why did He create sorrow? Why did He make some people suffer a lot? Why is He making some people enjoy so much? So all these questions become very natural if there is a cause. But in this Upanishad, Gaudapadacharya ji says that Brahman is unborn Brahman, and that unborn Brahman has never taken birth. So he is establishing a Jatavad. If he has never taken birth, then how can there be a cause? And if there is no cause, then how can there be a purpose? So all questions are negated. And that is this Advaita Prakarana. This is a unique Advaita. This Advaita is called Ajatavad. No, this Advaita is different than I don't want to create this notion that there are two Advaitas. Non-dual is non-dual. But over here it is absolute non-dual. That no creation, no jiva, no nothing. But then how do you prove it? So he systematically takes this. He starts from the secular Dvaitam to sacred Dvaitam. Sacred Dvaitam is what? Upasana. The Ishwar has now arrived. And then from this sacred Dvaitam, what does it do? The sacred Dvaitam, which is the Karma Yoga, the Jnana Yoga, the Bhakti Yoga, the Raj Yoga, all these different yogas is sacred duality. Okay? Sacred duality, what does it do? It is a temporary fix for the problem of life. But it is not a permanent solution. Permanent solution is not even Advait Jnana. Knowledge of Advaita is also not a permanent solution. The Advaita Jnana Nishtha. Advaita Jnana is Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Jnana Nishtha is non-creation. That is why he talks about abidance. In abidance, everything has been gotten rid of. So that is why there are no two Advaitas. One, this Advaita is absolute abidance. And in abidance, there is no such thing as world. So that is the journey that he is going. That limitless Brahman has never become limited. If at all, if it is perceived, then in the previous chapter, the example was given of the rope and snake. If it is perceived, the perception is an illusion, and the illusory perception is like the projection of the snake on the rope. Now, he starts his, he wants to, in second Karika, Gaudapadacharya ji is presenting to us what he wishes to cover in this. Ato vakshamyakarpanyam ajati samatam gatam yatha na jayate kinchit jayamanam samantatah. So he says, ataha, therefore, I shall vakshyami akarpanyam. Over here in the first mantra, first shloka, it was said, tena sau krupana smritaha. Krupana, pitiable is the state of the person stuck in the duality, and the pitiable is the state of the person stuck in secular duality, spiritual duality, and the knowledge of truth without abidance. Three things he calls it krupana. Okay? Krupana, pitiable. What is pitiable? Pitiable is a person stuck in secular world with secular problems and not knowing how to deal with it. So that person even Bhagavan Krishna doesn't address. He has not yet arrived. So gone. Now this person, Arjuna problem. How do I deal with this world? So that is called sacred duality. He took the secular world and he made it sacred. How? Offer it to the feet of the Lord. This world is nothing but Vibhuti Yoga, he calls it. You know, it is his sacred glory. Learn to see Krishna, Krishna, Krishna everywhere. So he went from the secular duality to sacred duality. Sacred duality, like I said, upasana. Then the sacred duality leads that person with Guru and Shastra to knowledge of the truth. Like what we are doing, we are studying. So we are practicing upasana, and at the same time we are on this path of learning truth. And this learning Advaita, he says, this book knowledge is also pitiable because problem is not gone. So all these things, that is why he is saying tena asau krupanaha. That person is pitiable. Now I had talked about this prag utpattehe. If one does upasana, then all this word makes sense. That before the creation Brahman was in the unmanifest state. These are all the ideas from the standpoint of us trying to study, trying to understand that before this creation Brahman was in the unmanifest. Pragutpattehe sarvatena sau krupana smritaha. All these people who have these ideas that before this I arrived, and when did I arrive? These vasanas gave birth. But what was the first vasana? Gurudev makes, and you should watch this Logic of Spirituality. He talks about it in there. Naturally the question is, then who created vasana? I mean myself. When? In the past birth. How many births? Beginningless. But what was the first birth? That is called pragutpattehe. All the questions that we have. When did God create? Why did God create? When was I created? What was my first vasana? This is all prag utpattehe. Utpatti, before our arrival, before the world's arrival, what was there? And all these thoughts and ideas, all these things If the one gets stuck in it, he's a krupana smrutaha. The person is pitiable. What to do? Brahman alone is, now he is Brahman and he's thinking. So according to Gaudapada Acharya ji, all these three types of people are just pitiable. And Arjuna uses this word. He says, Karpanya dosha bhavata svabhava prachami tvam dharma sammuda chetaha. In there, this krupana he uses. Karpanya dosha. The dosha of the buddhi of being krupana. Bhagavan, pitiable is myself. I cannot see. You guide me. Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. Why? Because krupana. So, Gaudapada Acharya ji, he must have studied Mandukya and uses this word. So, now he says, Ataha vakshyami akarpanyam. So, he uses the kripana, but akarpanyam, this Brahman, this absolute, which is free from the defects, free from trouble, free from problems, free from sorrow, free from misery. You can add all these things. That's the beauty of that word, kripana. So, akripana, that Brahman which is free of all this, Gurudev says free from miseries, limitations and all those things. So, he says, now I will talk about Vakshyami. Gaudapada Acharya ji says, what am I going to describe? Akarpanyam ajati. Ajati, birthless Brahman. You can understand this whole chapter will be Ajatavad. It will be, he will systematically take us to that. So, that Brahman, free from any limitations, free from any types of taints, marks, all those things, and that Brahman which is birthless. If it is birthless, how can we even talk about the birth of Jiva, birth of world? So he is systematically going to take us through that. Ajati, samatam gatam, and all meaning what all? Jiva, Jagat and Ishwar. All of them abiding in equal samatam, in one homogeneous existence. That means if all of them are equal, that means there is no creation, there is no Jiva, there is no world, and there is no Ishvara, because they are all equal. And to say if everything is equal, then that only means it's only one thing. Is that making sense? I hope it is. So, the samatam gatam, all the differences are resolved into one. And what is that one? One unborn Brahman is what is implied over here. Samatam gatam yatha na jayate kinchit. And in that samatam sthiti of Brahman, na jayate kinchit, nothing has come out. Nothing has come out. So, na jayate kinchit jayamanam samantataha. And this jayamana iva, though appears to have manifested. And what appears is an appearance, but really is not. So now, why did he add this in? It is for the sake of the Vedantic students who want to grow, who want to rise into this vision of Akarpanya Brahman, this birthless, taintless, limitless Brahman, but yet it is as though it appears to have manifested in all these endless forms of name, the name Nama Rupa Jagat, all that which has come about. So Advaita is never a cause of this creation, is what he is going to establish. From this shloka, what stands out is what I am enumerating. So what he is saying is, Advaita is never a cause of this creation. It cannot produce, divide, and create itself into Dvaitam. Because if it did, it itself will lose its nature. He will explain that. So it cannot multiply and it cannot become pluralistic. World has never been created out of Brahman is the very purpose of this entire chapter. World is never created out of Brahman. That is what he will. So Advaitam is never a cause of this creation. This creation has never come out of Brahman. He is going to establish that. Then what is this Brahman? Then what is this world naturally for all of us? So we say, what is this world? Last chapter said that this world, the relationship of this world with Brahman is like the snake and the rope. The rope is, and on the rope the snake is projected. So what is projected is illusion. That illusion is mithya, and this mithya is called adhyarop. Adhyarop, superimpositioning. And if it is superimposed, it has to have a support, so the rope becomes the adhishthan. So adhyarop adhishthan. So what he is going to, very technical term I am going to be using, what he is explaining is adhyaropa apavadabhyam nishprapancham prapanchyate is what he is going to. This is a very, very technical terms. This Upanishad is very powerful. Adhyarop, superimpositioning. Apavadabhyam, the removal of that. So deliberate superimpositioning is done in all other Upanishads. Akashad Vayu, Vayu Agne, Agne Apa, Apa Prithvi, Prithivyam, Annam, Annat Purushaha. Taittiriya Upanishad says that. Then Yathornanabi Srujate Grunate Cha, that is said in Mandukya Upanishad. Like that, different Upanishad talks about creation in different ways. That this Brahman, from it came the space, from space came air, from air came fire, fire to water, water to earth, earth to food, and from food human being is created. One Upanishad. The other one, just like a spider from the nabi weaves a web and takes it, in the same way Brahman creates and takes away. So everywhere cause effect was shown. Over here there is no cause, because if cause is there, then there will be a purpose. In all other Upanishads, conveniently the purpose was left out. But over here he will deal with that. He said no purpose. If there is no cause, no purpose. So what the message to be extracted here is what? the message that is to be extracted over here is that when we look at the worldly experiences, we have causes which produces the effect. When we have a gold ornament, we know that gold is the cause. Without that cause, ornament cannot be. So, but what is the job of the cause? What is the purpose of the cause? So what is the purpose of the cause? What is to be taken from the snake rope example is the rope is the cause upon which snake is projected. But the cause over here in the rope snake is the purpose of the rope is to lend existence, to extend existence upon which the rope can be projected. So the cause of the adhisthana is, the cause of the support is to lend existence, and that is it. That is to be extracted. When we say that a pot maker makes a pot, the purpose of the making pot is he is making the pot to sell the pot and make money, or he is making the pot to plant some plants inside it, or he is making the pots to gift someone because he has an art in making it. So many purpose are there for a pot maker who is an intelligent pot maker, intelligent cause making pots. Now what about the Brahman? When we say Brahman, when it is a cause of this world, why did he make? What is the purpose behind it? So the purpose is to lend existence, that is all. The pot maker's purpose was to sell it, or to plant, or to gift, so many different. But the purpose behind the cause, Brahman being the cause behind creation, is it only lends existence, nothing more, nothing less. But we convert that into, why did he create painful world? Why did he create sorrow? Why did he? And our list goes on. But Gaudapadacharya ji says that the cause over here is existence. That's it. Nothing else. Now he is going to say, see, the word cause itself is a problem in English language. When we say cause, then we say, but why? For what? For whom? All the vibhaktis become alive. In Sanskrit, you know, we have Prathama, Dvitiya, the subject, the object, the instrumental, the dative, and all of them, they all become alive when we use the word cause. Ball. Whose ball? He gave the ball to whom? With what did he give the ball? From where did he get the ball? Into which place did he put the ball? See, all these vibhaktis become alive. When he say it is a support, there are no vibhaktis. You cannot employ grammar. We are conditioned with language that when we take a word, we immediately, our brain thinks in a particular way and it puts meaning, which is what is wrong with us. And that is the limitation of language and the limitation of words. So to establish absolute truth, we have to negate language, we have to negate everything, the nama, rupa, jagat, everything. Then what remains? It is just a support. So he starts from there. Now, from shloka 3 to 8, he uses the example, and the example that he uses is the example of Akasha Tattva, space. Atma hyakashavad jivaihi Ghatakashairivoditah Ghatadivaccha sanghataihi Jata vetannidarshanam. Atma, the Supreme Self, Akashavat jivaihi Ghatakashaihi iva uditah. So, the very famous example of the space and the pot space. So imagine this is a pot, a clay pot, and so there is something known as the space. This is called Ghatakash, the space inside the pot. This is called Mahakash, the great space outside the pot. So Mahakash, Ghatakash. So space on the outside, space on the inside. So he says, Atma hi akashavat. Atma, the self, is like Mahakash, the great space. And Jiva Ghatakashaihi iva uditaha. And the Jivatva, the individuality, is like the little space trapped inside the great Mahakash, the little space inside these little pots which come. Each one of these pot spaces, they are all jivas. Ghatadivat sanghataihi. Ghatadivat, just like a pot, sanghataihi, along with the bodies, the sanghat, karya karana sanghat, it's a very technical word. This body is born out of some effect. So body, mind and intellect, this is the equipment. This is the ghata, this is the pot. So over here, Ghatadivat sanghataihi. Sanghataihi, this body, gross body and subtle body, both. And you can even add the third body, causal body too. So all these three are bodies, and all of them jatau Ghatadivat sanghataihi jatau etat nidarshanam. It is created out of illusion. When we have multiple pots over here and we have the great space, when we say this great space on the outside and the space on the inside and the outside, space alone is. But it is as though the pot space is created because of the limitation of the pot in the space. And when this pot is broken, the inside space and the outside space, it merges. But never was there a point in time when the two spaces were different, because space is space. It is not like somebody cut apart some space and poured that space into it and now we have a space. No, in space the pot arrived, and when the pot arrived, the inside space is called inside space only because of the pot, but in reality no inside space was created by the pot maker. Pot maker only made the pot. Pot maker never made the inside space. So that is why it is said over here that it was as though it is etad nidarshanam. It is, this is the illustration, and the illustration is the illusion that the space is created, and we even call it a pot space. But the pot maker never made the pot space. The pot maker only made the pot. And that is the illustration, is what he is trying to say. So with logic, Jiva Shrushti is negated. So what is Jiva Shrushti? My limitations are, my pot space is bad, my pot space is polluted, my pot space is small. So now we try to define the pot space, but the definition of the pot space is only born out of the pot and not the space. If two bottles are there, and in one bottle there is little bit of water, and in the other bottle there is little bit of 30 normal sulfuric acid, and the minute we open the water bottle, there's no fragrance, nothing, it's just water. The minute we open that sulfuric acid bottle and you even try to take your nose over there, and you will get the whiff which will burn the entire respiratory canal. So the inside space says, I'm acid Akash. And the other bottle space says, I am water Akash. Gaudapadacharya ji says this is illusion. There is no such thing as acid Akash or water Akash. This is born out of Upadhi. Upadhi is not real. Then how can that space be real? That is the next thing he will say. Because why is Upadhi not real? It is a projection. Why? Because it arrives and it goes. It arrives and it goes. Dream arrives, dream goes, negated. Waking state arrives, waking state goes, it is negated. So the objects are all negated. So there is nothing over there. It is born out of little confusion over here. So with logic, Jiva Shrishti is negated from Karika 3 up to 8. All this is one section, and he will get rid of the Jiva. The Jiva experience is this space over here which lends to the Jiva hood and the Jiva experience. From this standpoint, the experience of the world takes place. So Jiva Shrishti, the creation of the Jiva's world. Why is this example taken? Because both Atma and space are intangible and invisible. Not only are they intangible and invisible, but they are both sukshma, subtle, niravayava, devoid of parts, and they are sarvagata, they are all pervading. So because of these similarities between all pervading consciousness and the all pervading space, this particular example, with example, he negates the jiva hood, the jiva experience, and through logic, through understanding, he removes that. And then he will remove, with logic and example, he will remove jagat. Then he will come back and remove the jiva shrushti through scriptures, because anybody with logic can come up with anything, but there has to be basis. So then he says, no, I'm doing this because it is not that I want to do it, but the scriptures have ascertained that this consciousness alone is. So with scriptures he will negate the jiva hood and the jagat hood. So in this way we will see from here onwards. Next month we will have classes again. I will send out an email, text message on WhatsApp. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.